Hi everyone, this is Yoan and welcome to a new episode. Today we're gonna do a fun upcycling project using some denim patches and turn them into this fabulous fold-over style bag. The finished measurements are about 9 inch by 8 inch when it's folded like this. There's a zipper pocket at the front exterior here, one in the interior. It comes with a zipper closure. You can carry this with the strap or without the strap as a clutch. I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. First thing first, you want to extract a bunch of patches from your jeans. I recommend to use at least 2 shades of color. Cut them in any size that you want. Don't think too much about it. I cut mine roughly between 2 and 3.5 inch. There's no exact amount of fabric you will need for this. So just eyeball it for now, as long as they can cover the surface of the inner facings about 11 inch by 12.5 inch. Now you want to lay the inner facing on your pressing mat with the glue side facing up. Arrange the jeans patches on top of the inner facing with the wrong side facing down. So the next fabric should be overlapping the previous fabric between 1/4 and 1/2 inch or so. Again, don't think too much about it. Just keep arranging the fabrics until the entire surface of the interfacing is covered. Once you're happy with it, you want to take your iron and then press so that some parts of the fabrics that are touching the surface of the interfacing will be fused in place. Your fabric patches should now be partially secured. So now we're ready to go to the sewing machine and stitch these patches together. Set your sewing machine on zigzag stitch and then sew along the edges of each fabric. This way you are stitching the fabric in place while also taking care of the raw edges. I stitch one fabric at a time following the raw edges, and when I'm done with one fabric, I stop and continue with the different fabric. You can choose any thread color that you want. You can pick something that is contrasting, or you can choose something that's rather blending in or on the neutral side. Alright guys, once you've stitched all the patches together, we're gonna trim all the edges and square this up to measure 10 inch by 11.5 inch. First, we're gonna trim off one of the long side, sparingly though, about 1/2 inch max. And from these straight edges, you wanna measure 10 inch, which is the width that we were looking for, and then trim the excess fabric. Now let's work the same for the short sides, and this time you wanna measure 11.5 inch, which is the length that we want. And that's it, guys. Now let's go back to the sewing machine and then sew all around with about 1/4 inch seam allowance to prevent the seams along the edges from unraveling. Alright, you want to make 2 panels, one for the front and one for the back. Now the next step is totally optional. I'm going to add extra embellishment by doing couching using some leftover yarns. Here I've already cut a piece of yarn and I'm just gonna randomly lay this on an angle just like that, and then I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and then stitch this in place with wider zigzag stitch. So I set my zigzag stitch at 7mm wide. Position the yarn right on the center of the presser foot. I'm using my walking foot here. And there you go. Now I'm gonna couch a different kind of yarn, this one. Again, just randomly laying this on an angle. I recommend to leave 1/2 inch from the edges where the zipper is going to be attached, free from the couching, to minimize the bulk around that area. Again, I'm using the same zigzag stitch method. So you want to continue on and add more yarn. How much yarn you want to add, it's totally up to you. You may also try using ribbon or strips of fabric, or you may add different kind of embellishment such as embroidery, or you can add beads or buttons. Once you've done with the couching, you want to stitch along the side edges. Use about 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch seam allowance to secure the edges of the yarns. Now let's trim off the excess yarns. We do the couching only for the back exterior panel since that will be the one being displayed due to the fold over style. Now for the lower panel, you want to cut 2 pieces of 4-layer fabric. Now we're going to sew the jeans panel and the bottom panel together with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to finger press the seams towards the bottom. Push the 4-layer fabric all the way down. Make sure that there is no excess fabric making a pleat along the seams. And then top stitch. Next, we're going to work on the front zipper pocket. So we're going to use a 7 inch long zipper. I'm using a metal zipper here. Hand stitch the zipper extension tape there to keep the zipper shut. Now take the inner pocket panel and then draw the zipper template on the wrong side, just like shown on the screen right now. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the front exterior panel, the one without the couching, with the right side facing down, about 5 1/4 inch from the top. Now you want to pin this in place and then stitch along the outline of the template. Once you've done that, you want to cut through the center line and the corner triangles. Of course, be careful not to cut through the stitches as you get to the corners. Turn the inner pocket panel towards the wrong side, and then you want to go to your ironing board and then press this to make everything nice and neat, and you should end up with something like this. Now, if the upper edges of the inner pocket panel kind of want to roll down, you may want to use a pin to hold this in place. And the same goes with the lower part. Alright, now it's time to attach the zippers. So as usual, we're gonna apply some basting tape along the edges of the zipper tape. Position the zipper panel on top of the zipper. Try to center the position of the zipper teeth. Finger press so that the basting tape will be sticking onto the fabric. Once everything is nice and secured, you wanna stitch the zipper in place. Stitch along the edges of the zipper template, about 1/8 inch or so. I'm using my walking foot here, but you can also use your zipper foot, whichever one you are more comfortable with. As you get to the corner, especially if you use metal zipper, just be mindful with the metal zipper stop. If necessary, you can go a little further down. Now you want to fold the inner pocket panel towards the top, aligning the bottom edges with the top edges. Pin to secure this in place and then stitch the sides and the top with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. And of course, when you sew the pocket, make sure to get the exterior fabric out of the way. And that's it. Our front zipper pocket is done. We're gonna work the exact same way for the interior zipper pocket. The only difference is for the interior, I use nylon coil zipper instead of metal zipper. Next, we're gonna work on the D-ring tab, so prepare 2 D-rings with 1/2 inch inner measurements and then cut 2 rectangles. As usual, you wanna fold and press this in a 1/4 widthwise to make 1/2 inch wide strips, and then stitch along the edges with about 1/8 inch seam allowance. Attach the strip to the D-ring just like that, and then position that on the right side of the front exterior, about 5 1/2 inch from the top, and then clip. And you wanna do the same to the opposite side. And then stitch this in place with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. For the strap in this project, I use pre-made leather strap. This is something that you can easily find on Amazon, but feel free to make your own strap. You can use webbing or you can sew your own fabric strap. Now it's time to assemble the bag. First, we're gonna prep the zipper. For this project, you will need a 9 inch long zipper. I also use metal zipper for this. Mark the center point of the zipper, so just measure 4 1/2 inch from the start of the zipper, and you want to mark on the wrong side as well. Mark the top center point of all the exterior and the interior panels. Now here I've got the front exterior panel, the one with the zipper pocket facing right side up. Apply some basting tape along the top edges. Take the zipper, making sure that the direction of the zipper closure is the same as the zipper pocket. Lay the zipper right side down. Match the center point of the zipper with the center point of the front panel, and then finger press to make sure everything is secured. Now you want to apply some basting tape on the edges of the zipper tape, and then take the front interior panel, the one without the pocket, lay that right side down, aligning all the edges and matching the center point. Once everything is secured, you want to sew along the edges with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to turn this to the right side. Finger press the seams, both the exterior and the interior. Try to push the fabric away as further as you can from the zipper. Then you want to go back to your sewing machine and top stitch. Now you want to lay the back exterior panel right side up and then apply some basting tape along the top edges. Now lay the zipper right side down, matching the center point and aligning all the edges. Apply some basting tape along the edges of the zipper. Take the back interior panel and lay that right side down. Once everything is secured, stitch this in place with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, we're gonna turn this to the right side, finger press the seams, and then top stitch. Now it's time to assemble the bag. First, you wanna unzip the zipper about 3/4 of the way. Now separate the exterior from the interior with the right sides facing, just like that. So you want to make sure that the zipper teeth are sitting on the interior side. At the end of the zipper here, you want to match the top stitching line, just like that, and then clip. And then you want to repeat the same to the opposite side, match the top stitching line, and then clip. Now continue clipping all around. As you get to the 4-letter panel, you want to match the seams there. Once everything is secured, you want to sew all around, leaving about 4 to 5 inches of opening at the bottom of the interior to turn the back inside out later. I like to sew one side at a time, starting from the exterior side. Be mindful when you pass the zipper. Make sure that the needle won't go over the zipper teeth, especially if you use metal zipper. When you get to the D-ring tabs area, also make sure that the D-ring is not getting in the way because it may flip towards the edge without you realizing it. It actually did happen to me. Use 1/2 inch seam allowance, and when you sew the bottom interior, you want to use a slight larger seam allowance, about 5/8 of an inch or so that the interior will sit snugly inside the back. Now you want to clip all the corners. Be careful not to cut through the stitches. Then you want to trim off the seam allowances along the sides, about 1/4 of an inch away or so. Turn the back right side out through the opening hole. Poke the bottom corners and the corners of the zipper, make them nice and neat. Fold the raw edges of the bottom interior towards the wrong side, about 5/8 of an inch, and then stitch to close the opening. Now let's put the lining inside the bag. Fold the bag right before the D-ring tab, just like that. You may want to train this a little bit by putting a heavy object on top of the bag. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now you can attach the strap and your bag is done. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.